Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Reasons and Resources, and thanks to everybody that sort of checks in these regularly. Even with my modest figures on the channel nowadays, I can still see that this particular series is I suppose my most popular current series outside of the Magic the Gathering stuff that I do. So thanks to everybody that regularly checks in on these. Just out of curiosity, the one that's been the most popular, I think, was Reasons and Resources of Learning C, and that's what helped. That is one of the friends of the channel very kindly passed that on to their friends because they found the content very useful. So yeah, anybody that checks this out, thank you very much for checking this series out. I do enjoy making this, and it gives me lots of reasons and resources for checking out the languages, which was how this originally was born. I started doing this and then thought I should just turn this into a video because someone would find this information really useful. So Zig is this week's Reasons and Resources episode, and this is definitely very high up on my would like to learn list, I think. In fact, I suspect in 2026 I'll make a concerted effort to actually explore this, and we'll see if we get any interesting side effect videos as a result of that. So keep your eyes open if you're interested in Zig. I probably will get round to doing something about this once I start to devise some sort of learning plan for that. So yeah, it's an imperative language, general purpose, statically typed, as you can see here. One that I'm not super familiar with, but as I've said, is definitely up there with stuff or languages that I would really like to learn. So my reason is, it's probably I would say my most sort of admired and desired language. So what reasons outside might there be for me, for you, anybody that's curious about these things? So I suppose firstly, there is in the language apparently a sort of explicitness to the control, and so therefore there's no hidden behavior going on. So that way developers using it can get a sort of clear understanding exactly what the code's doing, makes the code more predictable in production, and with explicit approaches in programming, obviously it makes debugging applications a lot easier than other aspects of the language, and also compared to other languages. I'll include links to the Wikipedia article as a starting point and some deep links. There's some interesting stuff that's worth exploring in terms of sort of what goes on compilation wise. So my understanding is that there's this powerful compile time metaprogramming. So this comp time feature that's in the language that allows code to be allows code to be executed at compile time. And you go down some interesting, quests, pathways, however you want to think about that, in areas of, code generation, static analysis, optimization, those sort of things. But also with the comp time feature, you can, do things in testing, swapping out implementations, those sort of things. So yeah, interesting rabbit hole to go down. And the other thing with this is bear in mind that one of the major goals was to improve the C language. So what you should see, hopefully, is the sort of things that people get hung up on in the C language. They may find some, shelter from the storm, some respite in Zig. I can't guarantee that, but it's well worth looking and see, if there's this particular thing in C that really bugs you, excuse the pun, and maybe you want to take a look at Zig and see if it's there's something there that will change your mind about that. So there's some memory handling things that are interesting. That might be worth a look at. You've got this sort of direct integration with C, or direct interaction with C, and there's also, I suppose, interconnected with all of this is simplified cross compilation, and also frictionless. Lots of lovely words in this episode. Frictionless C interoperability. So it's an attractive choice for products that need to integrate with existing C code bases. And also, not surprisingly, you can then leverage the vast C ecosystem without too much overhead in there. So that's another, if you like, another reason to explore the language. Here's some example code if you're curious as to what it likes. If you're already familiar with C type language layout, you can sort of see, excuse another pun there, you can see what Zig looks like. In there, and then which we'll get onto in a moment. Obviously the external links, official website and Zig on GitHub. As you probably saw there as well, Zig provides manual memory management. So you've got this ability to sort of do fine-grained control over memory allocation and deallocation. Now, of course, it's manual, so some people aren't always used to that in a language, but it's definitely worth. I think it's a nice way of exploring it if you haven't had to deal with manual memory management, because it starts to get you to understand aspects of efficiency and predictability that maybe you haven't been able to experiment with in languages that don't have manual memory management. And then also you can have these sort of optional safety checks and other things that allow you to sort of control the level of safety and can be applied to specific use cases as well. So that's really useful. If we look at the sort of stats around the 2024 Stack Overflow survey, which I do still reference, we'll look at the 2025 as well. So this list, which is the most popular technologies, let's see where Zig is. It's pretty low down, which wouldn't surprise me. The wonderful admired and desired chart, which I always seem to interpret the wrong way around, because I speak before I do the hover over. And on here, where is it buried? Because there it is. Look at it's one of these ones with a vast chasm between desired and admired. So that's the admired stat, and that's the desired. So do people desire it? People have to have it, or really need to use it. Versus would they like to learn it, I suppose. 73.8% desired, but oh, sorry, what was I say? 73. I've got it round the wrong way again, haven't I? 73.8% admired, 6.2% desired, and then this one, is it still? Yeah, it's sort of up there. So this is this top paying technologies list, which has now been removed in the 2025 survey. Where you can see, well, this is our sort of top 10 here. And some of these, you know, if you do like I do and look at the sort of long-term year-on-year values for this, some of these bounce in and out each year. Some, you know, are consistently in the top 10. So it looks like Zig is just outside. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14. Number 14 is outside the top 10 there. But some of these, like Closure, I think Closure did a weird thing one year where it just dropped out of the list suddenly. But I know Closure consistently is always up there. And then if we look at what we can see in 2022, I'd probably be most interested in this one actually out of all of them. So this is most popular. See if that's gone up here. Has it shot up? Because it was right down the bottom. Was it 2.1% versus 1.1? So yeah, it's doubled. But it's pretty small to start with. Just above Erlang and Fortran, and just below MicroPython and Lisp. Yeah, make of that what you will. What's the admired desired looking like for this? Is that the same chasm? Does it look like the admired's gone down slightly? What do you reckon? Where were we? .2, 73.8 versus 7.7. Yeah, 60. So it's got a slightly less large chasm between those two values. Okay, so that's our reasons out of the way, whatever reasons you might glean from this. But it is up there. If you just look at the most admired ones, it's definitely up there, isn't it? Definitely up there with most admired. Right. On to the resources. Okay, so probably best place to start is the Zig guide. This offers a structured introduction, like a lot of these types of website we see in similar episodes or other episodes. You know, good starting point. Usually have, you know, installation instructions for the various platforms. How to do something simple like, say, hello world, how to run tests, and then stuff to do with the language. So, you know, a great way to get started is obviously go to the getting started and start off with this, sort of go through, do your installation, do your hello world, and if you're not used to doing testing, or you suddenly start to see these, sometimes I'm seeing this a lot more now, is sample code will often have runnable tests in it. Not always, it does depend on the language, but I've definitely seen it with certain languages where they're sort of trying to encourage people to do testing. So I think it's definitely worth seeing what testing looks like in a language fairly early on, so it sort of gets you into good habits. jumped ahead there. Another thing is Ziglings. So hands-on learning experience by challenging you to fix broken Zig programs. So we have a number of things in here. You can use that. Pretty cool. There's the Introduction to Zig, a project-based book. So, and you can work through this. You don't have to, if you don't want to, you don't have to buy the book. My understanding is everything that you need, or the contents of the book, is here, so you can work through that. Another great way, if you like me, like books, and doing that approach, then yeah, you can work your way through that. Introduction to Zig. And of course I'll include all the links in the description for all this stuff. Then we've got the Zig language reference. There we go. So if you like to sort of delve in that way, some people do like to sort of work through the language references systematically. Often quite a lot of them are well nicely structured, so you can sort of do it that way. But I definitely recommend, I think, with any language, if you've not looked at you need to look at the language reference at some point, just to get a feel for the way the language formally is sort of specified and laid out. So that's it with the sort of online resources in terms of your documentation and the main website. Other things you might find useful is this, an intro to the Zig programming language by Andrew Keeley, no less, and you may recognize the name there from here, and this is from 2022. Okay, then you've got this, what Zig got that C, Rust and Go don't have, which is our episode of Developer Voices, and then Zig Showtime, this website here. And so there's quite a nice channel here that you can channel rabbit hole you can go down and explore various things about the language. Zig is on exorcism. And you can go in the usual way. I don't know with this language, like there's a number of languages in here where there's quite a number of exercises, but there isn't necessarily a tutorial or exercise anywhere. And this might be one of those languages, possibly. Although it looks fairly well. Maybe it should. No, that's just the introduction, isn't it, to the problem, the exercise. And anybody that uses this site is, well aware of that some languages are better covered than others in terms of the exercises versus the, whether any has and you'll see the ones which specifically have learning modes are highlighted up there. So if you go into closure, you'll see, it's laid out slightly differently, and there's maybe slightly more comprehensive stuff there. You've got syllabus and various other things. So it just depends on the language, but certainly there's some challenges to work through if that's the way you like to work through using coding exercises. So, solve problems. And of course there is a mentorship program on here as well, and various other things which help out where there isn't, specifically a learning mode for the language. And this fella, so I've mentioned this multiple times, so I probably won't mention it again in this video. This is a work in progress that has sort of hit the buffers slightly for a short period of time. Well, I say a short period of time, it's been quite a long period of time now, but hopefully in 2026 I'll get back on the horse, and maybe I should start filling in the blanks here. As I've said on numerous occasions, the early low-hanging fruit that I wanted to do first is done, so that's great. And then everything past here was always going to be gravy. and some I've done, some I haven't, and Zig is one of the ones I haven't done. So that is on the cards, and quite possibly that might be when I get around to doing this again. It could be next. Yeah, definitely it's a language it's high up on my list to learn. And in fact, I've already been doing a little bit of coding in the language, but that's just through there's certain daily challenges that I have to basically look at certain languages and look at certain problems in the language, if you like. And Zig, I know, is one that's come up on that list. I have a sort of random way of generating that. That's why I can't be more specific. But I do know that I did have to check the other day to see if I had Zig installed, and I did. So I definitely know I've been doing some fiddling around a little bit with more the side of, how do you compile, how do you use the tool chain, really. So that's what more I've been playing around with, that rather than coding in anger. So I'm at sort of exploring the tool chain stage, and yet to sort of fully embrace the language. Anyway, there we have it. Thanks once again for watching. I'll include all the links as usual. Bye for now, and I will catch you in a future episode.